Welcome back to Fandom Recipes. Today we will be continuing with our Lord of the Rings Watch Party Feast series. Today we will be looking at one of the lesser-known Hobbit meals, Elevenses. But before we get to the recipe, what is Elevenses? According to an article on Tea Time magazine, quote, "This peculiar meal between meals phenomenon was first recorded in 1823 as an elevener. As tea became more affordable to the working class, the term had evolved by 1849 when both elevens and fourses were mentioned as work breaks in a Suffolk commentary on agricultural workers," end quote. So based on this source, it would be safe to assume that fourses would be the equivalent of afternoon tea.
What about Elevenses? Luncheon, afternoon tea, dinner, supper. He knows about them, doesn't he?
I wouldn't count on it.
Elevenses is only briefly mentioned in The Lord of the Rings, with Tolkien noting that on the grand occasion of Bilbo's 111th birthday, food was served, quote, "continuously from Elevenses until 6:30. It appears that Elevenses commonly involves a light snack, like a biscuit, with an accompanying beverage. Usually, in the British sense of the word, biscuit is referring to a sweet cookie. However, for our recipe, I'm choosing to take a savory approach, seeing as we just served a sweet seed cake for second breakfast. Years ago, when I visited the UK, I picked up this lovely book of British tea time recipes. While pondering an appropriate dish for Elevenses, one particular recipe inside caught my eye. According to the author, Jane Pettigrew, the recipe came from the Longshaw estate in South Yorkshire. This recipe is for a sort of savory pinwheel biscuit filled with celery and cheese. It seemed like just the thing a hungry hobbit might crave while trying to hold back ahead of a generous luncheon. These are the ingredients you need to make cheese and celery whirls for your Elevenses. Begin by preheating your oven to 420 degrees Fahrenheit. Combine your flour, baking powder, mustard powder, and salt and whisk to mix. Next, cut in your butter until the mixture resembles breadcrumbs. We're not making pie crust, so it is not imperative for the butter to be cold. I recommend using a pastry cutter, though you could be lazy and use a food processor. I imagine if a hobbit had to cook 7 meals each day, she'd probably opt for shortcuts too. Add your grated cheese, freshly grated, don't opt for the pre-grated rubbish in the shops, garlic, beaten egg, and milk to the flour mixture. Mix well so that everything is evenly combined. Tip your dough out onto a floured surface, knead lightly, and roll into a rectangle approximately 9 by 12 inches. Scatter your chopped celery over the surface of the dough and roll the rectangle up Swiss roll style, starting from the narrow edge. Cut your dough roll into slices about 1.5 inches thick and lay them on a parchment paper-lined baking tray. Before setting the pans in the oven, sprinkle the slices with a little bit of extra cheddar cheese. Bake for 15 to 20 minutes until the pinwheels are golden and well risen. Remove from the oven and serve your cheese and celery whirls warm with a steaming cup of coffee or tea to round out your Elevenses. Thanks for watching Fandom Recipes. We'll see you next time for lunch.